Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Did we lose everyone or just me?
We just lost you.
Oh, so sorry. Okay, Dr. Graham, are you still on?
I'm still here.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to hand it over to you so you can tell the group a little bit about yourself and what your goals are at in that office.
Sure. So as Lynn said, I was the teacher of the year for this year. Kind of cut a little bit short, given the events that have happened since March. But that through that time and meeting different people, establishing new relationships and whatnot, allowed me to take the opportunity to move into the current position I am in as the executive director for the Office of Independent Education and Parental Choice. And just looking forward to an opportunity to continue to build on the relationships that are and improve upon the relationships that currently exist between our traditional public and our charter public schools as well. And then just really to rewrite the narrative of what choice is, just so you can kind of see where my mind is with all of this. I was in education formerly as a teacher for 11 years. But for me, I look at the Choice Office as a landscape and opportunity to provide the supports for those students who need it outside of the traditional system. And so when we look at education, it's not a one-size-fits-all model, which we all know. And it's about what's best for students. And for some, that's the traditional public school model. For some, it's what different charter schools offer. Through the flexibility of your charter, you can offer different things in different ways. It may also be someone who needs to do even a smaller intimate setting in terms of like a private school. It just the options, they're limitless if we allow them to be. But it's all about providing whatever the individual student needs. And that was something that was big in my classroom. I was able to be effective in my classroom because I took it upon myself to take time to learn each of my students individually. And as you know, typically in the high school arena, which I was a high school band and orchestra director, but in the high school arena, a unit consists of 150 students. Well, my program every year, I was teaching 300 students. So for me to know each of them individually, yes, it required a little bit extra effort, but it was significant in order for me to make the impact in each student's life that I could and to be available to them. And so when I look at education on the broader sense, how are we offering that same opportunity to each individual student, not allowing any to get through the cracks and all those kind of things. So that's where my passion in terms of the role of choice in the educational landscape. But then also I look at it, and I've joked with some, but it's kind of, many times when we joke, it comes from a monicum of truth, but that I want to rename our office to the Office of Equity because, and that depends on how we know that a lot of people don't understand truly what equity means. And they get it confused with the definition of equality. But equity is providing everybody with an opportunity to succeed. And you're meeting them where they are and providing them the needs that they need, those supports in order to succeed. Doesn't mean that every student is going to succeed, but providing them with the opportunity to succeed through those established supports is really what we should be doing in education. And so that is the Reader's Digest version of kind of my perspective and where I'm coming from. I know right now one of my main priorities, I'm a big relationships person, and I also am a big believer in you attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. And so a lot of times people mistake that for naivete, but I'd like to believe I'm not naive. Like right now, there is still a lot of things I'm learning in this current position, but definitely I'm not naive. I just choose to be positive and look for that silver lining and work towards that. And so when you'll hear me talk a lot about compromise. You're going to hear me talk a lot about well, what can we do to establish and to fix some of the negative situations that have happened in the past. A lot of times when people come at me with problems, I'm always up to hearing problems and concerns, but when you bring those to me, it's much more effective, in my opinion, if you come to me with a potential course of action. So we can establish and we can identify the problems, but how are we going to fix it? How are we going to move forward? We can't just look at the here and now. We've got to look at what's coming next and how do we get out of that situation. So try and be very forward thinking, but then at the core of everything, big believer in relationships and how can we leverage those relationships to ultimately do what's best for students. And so a lot of times in education, we as the adults just need to get out of the way, and we need to be able to take ourselves out of those pieces and just be able to make decisions based on what's best for students. So, and you will hear me say that a lot. What's best for students, and we'll get into conversations and we're like, well, we think this and we think this. Well, let's stop for a moment. What's best for the students in this situation? So, and that is what it will always come down to with me. So if we ever have the opportunity to talk and we're kind of on two sides of a discussion, don't be surprised if I just say, okay, let's hit pause for a moment. What's best for the students, which you typically requires compromise on all ends, but ultimately that's what we're in education for, is to get our students that opportunity to be that next generation of world changers and be able to leave a positive impact. So like I said, the Reader's Digest version, even though I kind of, that last piece kind of went on a little bit more, but that's me. I'm an open book. You can ask any questions. I'm here and I'm available. And it's important to me when Lynn reached out and asked me to be here, I also want you all to know that I'm tangible. And I think that's really important, that you feel like you have someone who you can reach out to here, aside from the main contact, but knowing that me being as the executive director, I'm still someone who's tangible and who really wants to be connected with the ground level. There's a core of teachers that I've met through Teacher of the Year, who that represent different districts, different sizes, different areas, different levels of affluency, different socioeconomic status areas that I've kept in touch with, who I've now created kind of what I call my general counsel, so that if there's ever a time that I need to get a pulse of what's happening on the ground level, because in the time that I've been here, I'm not numb to the fact that there are things that we think are happening at the district or at the department level that could be presented to us differently than what the real life version of it is. And so opportunities like this to meet with principals and to meet with and have teachers who I can call on to really get a scope of what's happening in the landscape, I think is really important in terms of being able to make those decisions for what's best for the students. So that's all I got right now. If there are any questions, like I said, open book, feel free to go away.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question for Dr. Graham?
I don't have a question, but I do want to welcome on board. I'm Dr. Garcia. I've been around for a long time. And so my parents had a phrase or a quote as no one knows what's in the pot but the one who stirs it. And it's a very Latino quote, but I'm glad as you are stirring the pot, it's going to bring to you some realities of school choice, of things that you hear from the media, from people, and all of a sudden say, wait, hold a second, things are different than what people say. So I'm glad you come in with an open mind, and you have that willingness in you. Those who are true educators will value everything that you see in front of you that is in the best interest of the students. So for that, I applaud you, and I look forward to working with you.
Absolutely, same here.
Well, I know that you started this role and immediately had to deal with this hot seat issue, but I appreciate that you've been available to us. Very, very important information came from the department yesterday, an executive order, and I sat in on that webinar. And we really appreciate those extensions that you all have done and how quickly your department has reacted to this pandemic. Are there any highlights that you'd like to share with us? Anybody on the call have questions about yesterday's webinar from the department?
I think just in general, and obviously definitely open to if you have questions from that time there. I think it's really important just to note that we have a commissioner right now who is not someone who likes to sit on his laurels. If there's something that needs to happen and it needs to happen fast, he will make it happen. And he values the opportunities that choice brings to all of our students. And I think that's one of those things that it puts me in a really great position, because whenever there's a concern that's expressed about choice and moving things in that direction, I can go to him and I don't feel like it's one of those things where I'm just dismissed because it's the choice office. Like he has an open ear for all students, and he wants to make sure that everyone's getting what they need in order to succeed.
It's true.
Was that
and-
webinar recorded?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
If you hopefully you're getting if you're getting the emails that I'm sending. If you haven't received an email from me at all, then please send me an email, because that's another thing that I'm trying to be very intentional about, and that's improving communication as a whole. So if you're not getting an email, that means that you're not on any of our charter lists. And if you know anybody who's also not getting those emails, please have them contact me, or just send me an email and say, hey, I'm not getting your correspondence. I've sent at least 2 emails a week over the last probably 3 weeks. And then some of it's just making sure that you all are staying informed, and others will be requests for information. But on the link, the register link, after you registered for the webinar, then you would have gotten information that says, hey, this is the information you need to log in. But then that's also where the webinars are being archived. So even if you missed it, you can click on the registration link and it'll take you to the main website. Just don't register, go to the main website and look at the archives, and that's where they should be listed.
I have gotten some from you, just not as many as you say you're sending. So I'll have to go and check on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've also put them on the Alliance's COVID resource page. I have the Florida Department of Education right on the top, and the latest information is always on the top. And I put a link to the PowerPoint that they presented yesterday, along with the executive order, and lots of great information about extensions for not only teacher certification, but reading endorsement and a lot of things that are happening, IAPs, ESE. There's a lot of guidance there. Yeah.
And we're trying to leverage the website not only to act as kind of a central hub for all of that information, because we're also getting a lot of resources from other states and things that organizations are just providing to make sure everyone has those resources. But we also want to get people just traveling to that website more, so that it's a more effective platform. Just when we get to the other side of this situation, people still know that that's a location that they can go to receive information.
Correct. And I spoke with someone on your team last week about the state conference, and I think that's still up in the air whether or not we're going to have a virtual or a in-person conference. Correct? It will
happen. It will happen. We actually, Adam and I were mulling it around today whenever we were just talking about how to move forward, and there will be some surveys coming through just so that we can get your feedback in terms of what your preferences are and what would be most advantageous to you. I know in our conversation today, I kind of threw out some really creative ideas to us approaching this, because not only do I want to make sure that we have it, it's available for us. We don't know what October is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And so we don't know if it's going to be a situation where we can meet or have everybody in person at the capacity level that we have in the past. But if we can do some type of hybrid system, or if we can present it some other way. And so, I mean, we are going to have it. What it looks like, we don't know yet. But we are, we're trying to figure out if we can do maybe a 50% capacity in person, that'll be a first come, first serve, but then also do some type of virtual registration as well, so that we can put it out there. We've talked about the potential of doing, maybe having like one live session, so everyone's looking, you can stream it live, but it will be recorded, and then doing like a release of the other sessions virtually if we have to go to that kind of model. We don't know. But we're trying to be as creative as possible, understanding that this year's conference it's going to look different. But that moving forward, we'll go back to the in-person version of it, so that you have an opportunity to meet with vendors and connect and all those different elements. Because we are aware, and as someone who goes to annual conferences all the time as a teacher, it's not just about the resources that you go and you learn about and the opportunities you have to learn from these speakers, but it's also networking and communicating and connecting with people. And that is such a strong aspect of education as a whole. It's just that networking piece and the socialization in terms of what we do. You'll see on my emails on the bottom, one of the taglines, #Stronger_Together. I just, once again, going back to that relationship piece. We do better whenever we're working together to a united goal. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure we don't lose that aspect, but this year is just going to look different.
Anyone? Here's your chance to talk to Dr. Grill.
A question, if you don't mind. Based on the survey and some of the information that I've seen back and forth, I am to assume that summer school will be also virtually, unless you've heard any recent changes. I know there's been some last minute meetings going on.
Right. Well, I know you got the survey where we were asking what is your initial plan. The long and short of it, the short version is, if you're following CDC guidelines, that's what we are requesting. There's not been an official notice that the campuses are going to be required or suggested that they are closed through the summer just yet, because as you know, we're reopening and we're in phase 1 right now. And so, but as of right now, per the governor's ordinances, they're closed through this fiscal school year. So June 3rd is the date that was given. As we reopen and as he revisits that, he may give the opportunity and the option for schools to reopen their campuses. And if he does that, it's going to be paying attention to what the CDC guidelines are in terms of the number of people on the campuses and whatnot like that. I know there are a number of schools who are just saying, you know what, we're going to do the virtual summer school, and that's going to be our approach, and really just funnel our energies into reopening campuses in the fall. You do what works best for you and the students. My suggestion would be, if you have the capacity to do so, and if it is not putting any one area of your student population at a disadvantage to not be offered the opportunity to do the virtual piece, it would probably be safest to stick with virtual summer school and put your energy and efforts into reopening in the fall. But as I said, then that's depending on what your student population needs. If you've got a situation where your student population doesn't have access to the technology or to the internet, and you still want to make sure that you're offering those services to them, well, there are ways to do that with revolving schedules and things that still adhere to CDC guidelines and still can offer a safe environment for them to learn and to remediate for those elements that they lost here on this last quarter of school. And I think really that's the big thing, is making sure that we're providing them that safe environment to continue to learn and kind of make up for those losses so that they're able to come back strong and we can still continue to attack the achievement gap.
Okay. So some of the concerns and I do intend to continue virtually, but some of the concerns that I've been hearing from parents is in regards to the grab and go lunches.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure whether that is going to continue, because we haven't received that final decision from the school district. We did get a call yesterday that we needed to answer immediately whether we were going to have students on campus or not. I don't think we're ready to give that answer. I am more inclined to go virtually, but you know, both the district needs to know, I understand, but also the parents have certain needs. We're a Title I school, so of course there's the need for food. And a lot of our families do go through that grab and go on a weekly basis. Actually went down from 5 days a week to only now 3 days a week, and they do participate. So if by any way we can get further clarification if that is going to continue, I don't know what kind of influence you can do with the district in regards to lunches, because that's not
and I think one of the things that our society is realizing is really the pivotal role of the educational institution in our society right now. And I mean, it's when we're looking at the silver lining of all of this, you've heard the commissioner talk about elevating educators this year. And I mean, really it's an aspect of, or a result of what's happening right now, is just society understanding really our pivotal role, not only in educating students, but in providing resources to families. Absolutely. So I still see the department leveraging that relationship to provide those food sources, but that is not something that we have talked about directly, because once again, trying to figure out, well, where are we going to be June 3rd? Once we get there, we're going to have those opportunities to open back up so we can still provide those resources and whatnot. And I think a lot of that push initially, and right now where we are in the situation, came from the fact that students are getting lunches and breakfasts from the schools initially. And so we want to make sure that they continue to have those opportunities. But when the summer comes, if that's not, I mean, it wouldn't have been something that they would have depended on during the summer months anyway, because they would be home. For some schools, for some areas, that's not true. And so that's going to be, those are some of the elements that are going to be taken into account once we get there, once we get to that point. So it is, I definitely have, I've taken note on that, and I'll ask that question, but I don't know that we have any type of answer right now that's going to move forward with that.
Okay, it's because they've always provided for our lunch, a summer program. They've always provided breakfast and lunch. So a lot of parents are asking, we're about to start summer school on June the 8th. So I told my staff 95% we're going to go virtually, but there's still that 5% that we have to be ready for just in case.
Absolutely, absolutely. And where are you located, Dr. Garcia?
In Orlando.
Okay.
Right in the center of Orlando, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your thing. Is Jilla talking to us? She's muted.
I have a question about the human growth and development lesson plans that we received. Do you know anything about that?
When did you receive those?
Monday, I think it was.
Were they from, did I send them?
It came through the charter office, but it seemed as though it was a state directed thing, and I just haven't.
Okay, I'm gonna.
About it.
I'll look it up. I'll ask that whenever, in terms of looking at things that come from the charter office, if you can just pay attention to whose signature is on there. That'll help, at least whenever for questions like this, that'll help, because if it's something that Adam saw, who is the charter, as you know, is the charter school director, or something that he saw that went out, then that would be from him that I may not have necessarily seen.
But from our local charter office, it just seemed as though they were passing on a state directive.
Okay, let me check my email.
Okay, and then I can correspond with you individually if that would help. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Well, if you, Barbara, if you'll just share with me what your concerns are, and then we can connect individually too, just so everyone kind of hears the concerns and we can dialogue a little bit.
So my question is that it seems as though it's mandatory. I have called, the individuals from our district who sent it. My questions were about how, the directive specifically about implementation and with our students. First of all, it was sent out, and it was a lesson plan that was already put together, which was great, but it's put together for a live format, not a remote format. So we have to redo it for remote learning, which is fine. But then some of the assignments were needing to be modified for my students. I have a ESE population that is more of a significant cognitive delayed population. And so getting them to do some of the assignments that they recommended in person would be a challenge. Remotely will be virtually impossible. And I wanted to know, can we modify, and to what extent?
And what county are you in?
Palm Beach.
Palm Beach. Okay. I heard of us mandating any human growth and development.
Statute. It's in statute, but I wasn't sure what grades it's mandatory for. They sent it out from 2nd grade through high school. Okay.
I will.
Yeah.
And
let
me look into it.
Yeah, and I'll have Ralph look into it as well.
If you can, Barbara, if you can forward that to me.
Okay, with only 2 weeks left, I just needed to get on the ball to get it done if we're supposed to have it done before the end.
So they're saying it needs to be done before the end of school.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can forward that to me, that would be great, and I'll look into it. And I'll get back to you.
Okay.
And if Dr. Garcia, if you can send me an email that specifically is just like, hey, just friendly reminder to check into if anybody has looked into what's going to happen with food services over the summer. That'll also be like, I have my notes here, but just seeing it in my email, because like literally every day, like that's one of my checklists. Is getting through those many emails that gets through, but that'll put it on my radar again, because I will, when we're done the call, I will jump on both of those questions, but it'll help if I'm looking at it in my email inbox.
Will do. Thank you.
Dr. Garcia, I have some information to share with you about the summer food. We are also 100% minority school in Florida City. We serve the farm workers' families. And we have applied through Community Action and Human Services Department, and they have granted us the breakfast and lunch during our summer program. Our summer program is going to be digital. It's online. We are using the platform that we already have set up for the distance learning and to continue. So that's where we are offering their lunch and breakfast. It's going to be drive-through. So you may want to get in touch with them in your county. Also, Dr. Graham, I have a question about the summer program. One of the concerns is the credit recovery for the 8th graders that they are going to 9th grade, and also to some of the high school students that it may impede their or delay their graduation, high school graduation. We know that Florida Virtual School has decided not to offer credit recovery this summer. Is it correct?
I've not heard that they are not offering it. I know that they have their, as we've moved through this, they have their 100 free courses that the students are welcome to take, that they can sign in through, that they don't have to go through the district in terms of that. But I have not heard of the lack of credit recovery. Writing that down as well.
They answered us that the credit recovery has to be the entire year until unless it's a half a credit. But for the middle school students, it has to be the entire year, so they cannot. So we don't know if they're high school. In our case, we have a high school. We are a K-12. But if they are going to another high school and they are missing a math or science, one of the core subjects, we don't know what to answer, what to tell the parents, who is going to take care of their recovery, or the recovery is going to be postponed to next year. They can do it through the school year. Those information are not very clear at this point.
Okay.
And last but not least, welcome to the board. What you said about that equity should not be mistaken with equality is probably the most truthful statement in Board of Education. Because of our school community during the past 16 years, I have learned it firsthand.
Thank you. And I will ask that the credit recovery question to, I'll go over to K-12, the Chancellor of Public School Education, and I'll ask him, and then we'll see if we can't get an answer for that in terms of delayed graduation, and then just those students who are transitioning into the next level. Exactly. Once again, you can shoot me an email. Then that way, that also provides me a vessel to get back to you directly and not have to send out some time, you know what I mean? So I can answer that for you specifically if you could just shoot me an email over.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Lewis, you're the only one who I can see who I haven't heard from yet.
I have no specific questions, sir, but I also like to welcome you aboard. And as you know, I work for Mr. Rafarza.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we want to be respectful of Dr. Graham's time. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us today. We are all treading like new ground and new territory, but I have to thank you again and your department, because you've been incredibly forthcoming with information and have been accessible, and we really appreciate that. I will share with this group Dr. Graham's email. You should have it, and it's available on the DOE website, but I'll make sure to get it out to everyone along with the links to their presentation yesterday. Does anybody else have any questions before we wrap it up today? Anybody doing something great they'd like to share with the group? I know we usually have a round robin of best practice.
Well, there's an important event going on today at 2:45. The Tax Watch organization is recognizing a few leaders from around the state. I was lucky enough to be selected as one. So I'm all excited and giddy. I'm ready for it. It starts at 2:45. So for someone from humble beginnings, coming from Puerto Rico, not knowing the language, and now, given the opportunity to do what I do, I mean, it's beyond belief, and it's been an amazing ride and an amazing blessing. So I'm excited, and and so welcome all of you to join. If I don't know if you guys received the link for it, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dr.
Congratulations.
Garcia. That's
Thank you.
definitely.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
You've done great work, and I'm thrilled that you're recognized. I'm just sorry we all can't be there in person, because I was planning to be there when the Tax Watch came to your campus, but we'll just have to do a do-over when it's open again. But congratulations.
All right, thank you so much.
Really great news.
I also want to share for people who have the high school that we have planned for a great high school graduation. Our seniors, they decided that they are not going to settle for less. So we are going to have a live graduation with procession, all the bells and whistles, except that we have changed the auditorium into the family cars. And the graduate and their families, they are going to march together with present the colors with everything, all the scholarships, the music and everything. We are very excited about that. We are using the support of Florida City Police Department, that they are going to bring all the excitement into it. So looking forward to have our kids are graduating. They have a lot of achievements that we made some promises to them last year about the dual enrollment and, giving them some recognition. They have collected just $8,000 additional recognition this year. So we are excited about our high school graduation on May 28th.
Awesome. On the 27th, if I may, one more time, we are going to be doing a drive-through graduation. It's something completely different. But my staff got extremely creative. We're going to have a DJ. Of course, we're not allowing anybody to get out of the vehicle. So it's going to be a drive into campus. We're going to be making lots of noise, a lot of dancing from a DJ that's coming. The teachers, there will be signs. There's an organization that creates huge signs, and it's called Card My Yard. So we're going to be carding the schoolyard with this Congratulations Panthers. That's our mascot. And so it's on the 27th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Anybody who wants to join us, I can assure you will enjoy it.
Wonderful.
Okay, anyone else? Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Like I said earlier, it's a National Charter Schools Week, so please make sure to use the hashtag Charter Schools Week or hashtag Charter Love when you're posting great stories about the work that your teams are doing. And keep sending me those positive stories, because there's been a lot of negative out there, and we need to showcase the great work that you're doing and that your kids are doing, because I really think especially our most vulnerable kids have really stepped it up. It hasn't been easy, but they've done a great work. So please keep sharing those stories. Share them with me and with your charter school office. And then we'll see each other next week. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.